Make sure your air filter is screwed on tight, be careful not to touch the tripwire, and don't listen to singing pipes for too long because we're diving deep beneath Moscow in Metro 2033. To be fair, we're going to look at Metro 2033 Redux, a 2014 remaster of the original game that came out in 2010 and that was developed by 4A Games and published by THQ. Metro 2033 is inspired by the novel with the same name, written by Dmitry Glukhovsky. While I did read the book and it's a great read, I don't want to make any kind of comparison between what happens in the book and what happens in the game, as they're very different mediums. However, I will mention a couple of things that are not found in the game. In this review, discussion, retrospective, video essay thing, we're going to look at these aspects in order to answer the question: is this game still worth playing? Let's see. Metro 2033 is a nuclear post-apocalyptic first-person shooter, one with survival elements. While you might not be punching trees in this game in order to build houses, you're going to be scavenging for ammo, air filters, and a couple of other things. Since the game is a first-person shooter, of course you will gun down hordes of mutated beasts, and if you choose to, numerous bandits, socialists, and national socialists. In addition to the shooting and the survival, we also have some stealth elements. On the levels where we encounter human enemies, we can choose the way we want to complete the level. You have the boring way of bypassing most enemies by learning patrol routes, turning off engines, or jumping on pipes like a Russian version of Mario, then silently knocking out people, and, if you choose to, by killing them. Why, brother, why? Or you can go the fun way and just shoot anything that moves. Metro 2033 is a linear game. For the most part, you're going to keep moving forward and thus progressing the story. However, the game does have a couple of side rooms and tunnels that you can explore, and where you can find the vital resources needed to survive in the Metro. Just watch your step. Don't think the game's linearity is a detriment. I would argue that it's actually a strength, but we'll talk about this later. We have shooting, we have stealth, we have friendly mutants. Well, maybe the mutants are not so friendly, but we certainly have a lot of story to unravel as we make our way through the Metro. The game's intro sets up the post-apocalyptic world where a small number of survivors manage to escape nuclear devastation by retreating in the metro stations of Moscow. While not perfect and oftentimes incredibly dangerous, people are trying to live their lives as best they can. However, things take a turn for the worse when a new threat finds its way down in the tunnels of the Metro. Before we actually start the game, we have to choose one of two playstyles. Survival, where ammo and air filters are a lot more scarce, you take more damage but you also do more damage. I tried this mode and it's a lot of fun, but you have to really be careful with your ammo as it's quite easy to run out and then you'll only be left with your knife, which makes things exciting. On this playstyle, exploration is the key, and a good aim. The second playstyle is called Spartan. And this is more to my liking. Ammo and air filters are a lot more common, which gives a much more action-oriented feel to the combat. After that, you can choose one of 4 difficulties: Normal, Hardcore, Ranger, and Ranger Hardcore.
Coming at you!
I don't think I need to explain the first 2 for now, but I will explain what Ranger difficulty is. The HUD and UI are disabled, you get limited hints, enemies do more damage, you do more damage, and there are fewer resources around. I really like the playstyle and difficulty choices, as you can customize quite a few aspects of the gameplay to suit your own playstyle. That's a big plus in my book. In this game, we assume the role of Artyom, a young survivor that lives in the metro station exhibition. Well, in all fairness, the game actually starts off with a flash forward, but we'll skip that. Artyom's stepfather, Alex, is expecting the arrival of an old friend, so we go to greet him, and along the way we discover that one of our station's patrols has been savagely attacked by mutants called the Dark Ones. Hunter, the man we are waiting for, is a ranger, a member of an order of highly trained soldiers who swore to defend and help all the peoples of the Metro.
Who would that be?
It's Hunter.
Mutants don't knock first. Open the damn gate.
I do have to say that I really like how Hunter is introduced. Hunter and Alex's reunion is interrupted by a mutant attack on the station. But after clearing out the creatures, we get to witness a bit of a heated discussion about their views on current matters. This is one of the few times I want to add something from the book, as this discussion between the two has some significance for our protagonist. In the book, Alex and Hunter get into a similar debate in which Artyom's stepfather mentions that the Dark Ones, a species of mutants that is attacking the Metro, have some sort of mental powers and that they can even break people's minds, making them go insane. The discussion gets heated as Alex seems to have lost all hope and thinks that it's getting to the point where people are starting to wonder if it's even possible to fight the Dark Ones at all. However, Hunter starts to doubt that these are truly his old friend's words and suspects that Alex, Artyom's stepfather, has also been claimed by the Dark One's influence. This is something that he later shares with Artyom in private.
What's happened to you, Alex? You can go like lambs to the slaughter. I'll hang on to whatever life I got with teeth and claws. And I'll take more than a few of your homo novus with me to hell.
You think you're some old movie cowboy? Have a look, Hunter. 10 soldiers, trained in combat. Their bodies broken, their minds gone.
The Dark Ones! They destroyed the outer guard post!
Both in the book and in the game, Hunter asks Artyom to travel to his station named Polis if he doesn't return from his next mission and inform a man named Miller of all that's happening at Exhibition.
If we are to survive, this threat must be eliminated, no matter the cost. Eliminated. Understand?
After Hunter failed to return, Artyom wants to keep his word and travel across almost the entire Metro to Polis without his father knowing of his true destination, as he might try to stop our protagonist. Luckily, Artyom manages to sign up as a guard on a transport that's leaving for a neighboring station called Riga, where some supplies are being sent. Before we take off, we can move around the exhibition and see what life is like for the people of the station. I love this part because it shows how life continues for the people of the Metro, with its good, its tragic, and its bad.
God,
Artyom, please. My son's
Tell me
sick.
he's going to be all right.
Could you spare a couple of cartridges?
Do something.
I'll pay you back as soon as I can.
Go find the money to
Thanks,
buy
Artyom.
medicine.
I knew I could count on you.
This exchange here brings us to the currency. Instead of money, people use a harder, more tangible currency, military-grade bullets. And I think that makes a lot of sense, as bullets do have a use outside of them just being a currency. It certainly makes a lot more sense than bottle caps. But then again, caps are funnier. If we want to, we can say goodbye to our stepfather before we leave our station. During the talk with Alex, it seems that he doesn't really approve of Hunter's profession, and he asks you to just watch over the goods and get back home as soon as possible. I'm sure the ride on this hand-operated rail cart will be smooth. In fact, it's so smooth that everyone decides to take a quick nap. Things do heat up a little bit after we wake up, because we are attacked by a bunch of Nosalises.
Ah! Oh God! Ah! Shoot them! You shoot! I'll take the levers! Come on!
One of the many types of mutants that can be found in the Metro. Anyway, after a bumpy ride, we make it to Riga, where we have a drink to celebrate our survival.
Artyom, you really immune to that shit?
Seems like shroom vodka knocks him down, huh?
Okay, we've got to check that. To our luck. And to Artyom.
Did you say something, Eugene? I wasn't really paying attention. Anyway, our journey to Polis suffers a small setback as this station is on lockdown. If only we could find a way out. Maybe some sort of a smuggler that knows a side tunnel and that could get us out of the station.
You're Artyom, right? Sit down.
Well, he looks like a trustworthy gentleman. This is Bourbon, and he also wishes to leave the station to do some business at Dry Station. And it just so happens that he knows a side tunnel that the locals don't like to use because it's haunted. However, Bourbon heard that the things in the tunnel don't affect us. In my multiple playthroughs of this game, I always wondered, where did Bourbon hear that Artyom is immune to the shit in the tunnels? Even Artyom in his diary wonders the same thing. Well, if you don't get distracted by the woman in red and look to your left at the bar, you'll see a guy that keeps looking behind him and over to your table. Look at that, it's Bourbon. Well, our new friend gives us an advance which we can use to buy ammo or to upgrade our weapons.
Hey baby, you like what you see?
Or you can it's time for you to leave.
I'll show you a good time. Special prize for you.
After making our way out through the hidden path, we start our journey to Dry Station and what's this? A different tunnel? Well, I wonder what's down here. If you look around, you can find quite a couple of useful things, including a new weapon. Didn't I tell you to watch your step? Anyway, a little bit further from the hole in the ground tunnel, we get our first look at the stealth elements in Metro 2033. As I already mentioned, on the levels where we have human enemies, we have a couple of choices on how to deal with our opponents. You can slowly and methodically bypass most enemies by using hidden paths, tunnels and walkways in order to reach the end of the level. And if that's not possible, you can always kill them all. Yes. Good. I think it's pretty clear what my preferred approach was. That's right, stealth. Don't think that it's a simple matter to take out enemies this way, as you have to pay attention to a couple of things. First of all, the light. Humans don't see that well in the dark, which means you can use that to your advantage and hide in the shadows. There's no need to worry, you don't have to guess whether you're hidden or not, as on your watch you have a light that indicates if you're hidden. Light is blue, they can see you. Light is black, they can't see jack. Okay, so you can hide from human enemies, but what do you do when there are a ton of light bulbs, lanterns, floodlights and all sorts of different things that light up the room? Simple, you can just turn them off. And if that's not possible, you can also shoot them, preferably with a weapon that has a silencer or that doesn't make a lot of noise. Right, so you turn off all the light sources, but there are a couple of enemies grouped up. If you try to knock them out, they will attack and alert everyone else. So now what? Now, you wait. You wait for the opportune time to strike, because human targets generally do one of two things. They either patrol, in which case you just wait until they're alone and in the dark, or you need to get close enough to them without being seen so that you can trigger their interaction. Like this guy who ate some food that's gone bad.
What the hell's your problem? Badger told me not to eat this shit, and I did anyway. You moron. So I'm a moron. The pain's killing me. Oh shit, I'll be right back. Hold on to your pants!
The last thing you have to pay attention to is where you knock them out, because if an enemy discovers the body of one of their comrades, they will become alert and sound the alarm. When that happens, it's time to forget about stealth and switch to your AK. Now, if putting enemies to sleep by introducing your fist to their face doesn't satiate your virtual bloodlust, you can also silently kill targets, and that also works, for the most part. After we clear the bandit camp one way or another, we reach a collapsed bridge. And wouldn't you know it, the beasts that are hiding in the shadows near this place see us and think it's lunchtime. However, the mutants are no match for our firepower and to the immortal Bourbon, especially if you stand in the correct spot, which is right here on the stairs. I do have to say that I like this place because it's just so atmospheric. The sound design is amazing. You hear the beasts scurrying all around. You see movement in the dark, but it's somewhat difficult to tell where. And then the mutants jump at you. It's awesome. We managed to reach Market Station, a great place where you can hear some interesting things that are mentioned or explained more in the book. However, we're not going to linger for long in the station, as Bourbon owes money to what looks like every single guard in this place. As a result, we're going to have to go to the surface. And finally, for the first time, see Moscow, or what's left of the once great capital of Russia. We actually see, yes, I know, but we don't get to explore it too much in the prologue. Now on the surface, it's time to put on your gas mask, as without it, you would die, because the air is not breathable, yet. In the Dead City, due to some rotten luck, we get separated from Bourbon and we get to explore a couple of buildings. While looking around this part of the city, of course we're attacked by the mutants that now call this place home. But looking around is just so... what the... Okay, I think it's time to meet up with Bourbon. Bourbon! Am I glad to see you?
You scared the shit out of me. But you made it. I thought you were a goner.
Now that we've met up with our shady friend, let's start making our way towards the entrance of Dry Station. Sounds like a pretty dull place if you ask me. Anyway, as you can imagine, this entails some fighting with the local wildlife that eventually forces us to jump in an air vent. As we crawl through the vent of Dry Station, Bourbon tells us that the bandits control this place, and that if we don't see his friends, we should get out. However, Bourbon gets captured, and we have to deal with a lot of bandits, which means it's time to quietly creep behind our targets to knock them out. Until they see me. This is where the fun begins. Oh, come on, really? Okay, that wasn't me. Clearly someone else is taking out some of these guys. Now let's find Bourbon and get out of here.
Artyom!
Who the fuck?
Oh man, I kind of like the old rascal.
You can keep your weapon down, young man. It's sad, but not unexpected finale for the likes of him. My name is Khan.
Khan.
Well, I suggest that we leave this place immediately. The companions of these bandits will show up soon enough, and I'd prefer to avoid more bloodshed. I'm going back to Cursed. This station's humidity is making me rheumatic. If you'd rather share your friend's fate, then by all means, stay.
This brings us to my absolute favorite level in the entire game. Khan here is going to be our guide, and he's the one that will open our eyes to the unseen world of the Metro.
Freeze, and look forward. I don't think the word who is applicable here. We need to go around it. Don't touch the silhouettes.
Bah, I ain't afraid of no ghosts. I can touch the silhouettes if I want to. What happened? Didn't we see this before? Do you know what? Maybe we shouldn't touch the silhouettes. Or the ghost train.
Please, and look forward.
I'm not touching the shadows anymore.
A battle raged here long ago. The defenders still man their stations.
Yeah, Khan is here to teach us about the ghosts of the Metro and of the surface. He brings in an interesting interpretation of what's happening in the tunnel.
This tunnel has to relive its past over and over again, and those who were unfortunate enough to walk here at such a moment usually join that past.
A religious look at the apocalypse.
It appears that the devastation we brought upon ourselves was complete. Heaven, hell, and purgatory were atomized as well. So when a soul leaves the body, it has nowhere to go and must remain here in the Metro. A harsh but not undeserved atonement for our sins, wouldn't you agree?
And an interesting outlook at these new phenomenon.
Wicked phenomenon, yes. But, you know, it's not any more evil than, say, fire. It all depends on your point of view. Try to get a better understanding of things before you make your judgment.
Or he's just some sort of madman, who knows? Philosopher, soldier, spiritualist, priest, explorer, otherworldly being, madman, charlatan, it's not very clear what Khan is, initially. Fortunately, throughout the game you can find Artyom's diaries that shed some light into what our mostly silent protagonist is thinking, and in the diaries found on this level, Artyom mentions that he feels uncomfortable around him, even scared. When he's around, everything, all I know about the world, people, death, even myself, starts seeming nonsensical. Later, Artyom admits, I first took Khan for a madman, then I got scared of him. Now, I admire him. Khan definitely gives off a vibe that he knows more than he's saying, and he's probably the most interesting character in the game. I will admit that there was something about Khan that I always questioned. Not his abilities or his wisdom, but his name. It didn't really sound very Russian to me. But after reading the book, things were a lot clearer. You see, his full name is Genghis Khan. Yeah, the man that guided us through that haunted tunnel is the latest reincarnation of the Mongolian ruler. or so he says. Honestly, I'm not going to question that. Now, to be fair, while good old Genghis explained a couple of things and hinted at others, this is not the first time we encounter anomalies or see ghosts. Do you remember that nice nap we took after we left exhibition? Well, obviously that's not quite what happened. What really happens is that shortly after leaving home, we are forced to take a different route to Riga. While going through the tunnels, one of our companions starts saying some pretty weird stuff.
No, we should get out of here sooner. It's scary when they're around. And I pity them.
Them? Who them?
Can you hear them weep?
Whom do you mean, them? What are you talking about? What the hell is going on about? Boris? Boris!
What's happening to me?
My head! Artyom! What is it?
Artyom! Over here!
If we are to survive, this threat must be eliminated, no matter the cost. Eliminate.
And then there's this part.
I also heard tales of singing pipes. They say if you listen long enough, you can hear the voices of the dead. What bullshit.
And just a bit further,
Come on, open! Artyom, my gut tells me something is very wrong with this place. Remember our agreements. I'm counting on you, kid.
I think it's time to talk about one of the best, if not the absolute best, aspects of this game, the atmosphere. For that, we have to return a bit to the Moscow level, because just like Ghost Tunnel, it's one of my favorite parts of the game, as it's just pure atmosphere, great sound design, and phenomenal storytelling. It starts off with us having to go for an old playground. Then, as we enter a supermarket, we hear the echoes of the past. And to top it all off, we reach an apartment building. This is absolutely amazing. Horrifying, but amazing. Not only do we see a flicker of the past, moments before hell was unleashed, not only do we hear the petrifying sound of the air raid sirens going off and the sound of a missile coursing through the air, not only are all the implications of all that's happening here enough to make one pause and think, but then, if you actually do that, if you pay attention to the sound effects in the background, you get chills, as they are the sounds of normal life. In this destroyed apartment building, in conditions that would kill humans, you hear footsteps and pacing. Keys unlocking doors that should lead to empty apartments. The shuffling of various objects. The clicking noise of cleaning dishes and glasses. It's almost as if the world never ended for a cursed few. I will mention one more absolutely superb moment. One that you can pass by without ever knowing it's there. A bit later, on our way to the Great Library, we can explore a bit, including on a bus where we find some useful items, and you should always be on the lookout for more resources. As we make our way towards the library, accompanied by the howling wind, the occasional growl of a monster, and the sounds made by the various objects that are being moved by the wind, we see a second bus that we can check out. As soon as we get on this bus, the sound of the wind is drowned out, and something else can be heard. screams, the sound of panic and fear, overpowered occasionally by the sound of a car engine driving past us trying to escape the inevitable. We also hear the occasional cough and sound of everyday life from the clearly abandoned neighboring apartment building. Then, as soon as we step off the bus, we are again greeted by the wind and the sounds of the new world. To me, this is another one of those moments that makes me shiver at the implications. Metro 2033 is a nuclear post-apocalyptic game, and it takes that aspect very seriously. Even among the shooting, the stealthing, the mutants, the politics, the dark tunnels, and everything else, Metro 2033 always makes time to create a truly gripping atmosphere. Alongside Khan, we arrive at the Cursed Station, a place where all hope is lost, a place where the mutants have already won and where the stubborn humans have decided to make a final stand. But the right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world, Mr. Freeman. In an attempt to stop the endless waves of mutants, the survivors wanted to collapse a side tunnel and to lock an airlock. In order to do that, they sent a demolition squad, but it's clear that something went horribly wrong, so we must pick up the mantle. Or the bomb. Honestly, this isn't that challenging of a level, and after completing our explosive task, we part ways with Khan and leave for a station called the Armory, where we have to find Khan's friend, a man named Andrew the blacksmith.
Hey, loosen up. It's a human. Kill the light already.
Well, you look human. That's all that counts. Come in, this is a free station.
Oh, good. It's a free station. Nice. Yeah, the free station has fallen under the influence of the communists.
Face to the wall, this is an inspection!
Hey, come on, quit harassing me! I don't swing that way!
Cut the bullshit! Prepare for inspection.
Oh, I'm always prepared for this. Doctor, could you check my prostate while you're at it? I'm pissing kind of funny, it's glowing. Must be the radiation, huh?
You freak!
Hell! So, you kick the part that attracts you the most? Pretty weak though. What, they don't feed you enough?
Shh! Hush! And who are you? The comedian's boyfriend! Put your hands out! You're under arrest.
Alright! Lay off! I'll come quietly.
Run! Stop or I'll shoot! I'm gonna kill him! Go!
Not big fans of comedy, the socialists. Who could have guessed? As luck would have it, we are rescued from the Red Menace by Andrew the blacksmith. However, if we want to reach Polis, we have to go through the front lines, where the socialists are fighting with the National Socialists, and Andrew knows exactly how to get us to the front line unnoticed.
But the only way goes through a goddamn battlefield. The front line between the Reich and the Reds.
Since this is a mission that involves human enemies, we can stealth around, trying to down as few people as possible, or we could just pop anything that moves. Either way works. If you do plan on stealthing around, here are a couple of tips. First, after you fall off the train, if you head towards the start of the map, at the end of the tunnel you can find a couple of weapons, including one with a silencer, and a pair of night vision goggles. Second, if you move quickly down the stairs leading towards the other track, you will not be seen by either of the two guards. Otherwise, if you wait till the soldiers start chatting, there is a pretty good chance that one of them will see you. Third, when at the crossing between the lines, on your right there is a prisoner that's going to be executed. You can save him by knocking out the two commies. Killing one of them, even with your knife, silently will trigger the other one and the alarm will be raised, so knock them out. Fourth, after saving the guy, at the top of the stairs leading to the red camp, you will see a generator. If you interact with it, you will sabotage it, cutting the power supply of the camp, which means it's lights off. Fifth, go past the injured soldiers and pick up this key. To your right there is a door and some stairs, at the bottom of which you will find a safe and, more importantly, night vision goggles if you missed the first pair. Finally, if you want to silently get past the Reds and reach the National Socialist line, you have to return to the place where you saved the prisoner and do a bit of jumping. Alternatively, if you follow the painted arrows, they will eventually lead you all the way at the bottom, and you can use this path to bypass not just the Reds, but the forward barricade of the National Socialists, greatly easing this part of the level. If you decide to fight once you reach the National Socialist side, immediately after their forward position, you can find a side room where you can save a couple of captured Reds and turn off most of the lights on the Nazi side. After clearing out this part of the level, we get ourselves captured. And just as we're about to be executed...
Alright, you Red Scum. Offer a prayer to your Marx or whoever.
we get saved by a couple of Rangers, members of the same organization as Hunter. Ullman's stellar plan is for Artyom and Pavel to go for a couple of National Socialist stations by pretending to be the crew of an armored railcar. I can't see how that could go wrong.
What are you doing out here? This vehicle is not on the transport schedule.
We've been sent to the forward roadblock, Herr Sir, to deliver the ammo.
They've already received the ammo shipment. Who are you? Raise your eye shield.
Stop! Alert! Menu vehicles!
My god, Pavel, you're a terrible liar. Of course, things go wrong. We get chased by armored rail cars, we get shot at by National Socialists on the station platforms, and then we see...
Oh my god! It's a Panzer!
Honestly, I don't like this part. For me, it doesn't fit the mood of the rest of the game. I feel like I'm in a Call of Duty game rather than the tension-filled atmospheric Metro. However, the mission gets a lot better, as once we reach the depot, we're back to spooky atmosphere and mutants running around in the dark, only catching glimpses of them out of the corner of your eye, and then they attack. Just to give another example of why I think this game creates a phenomenal atmosphere. Immediately after the depot, we reach a station that will soon be attacked by mutants, so we have no choice but to join the defenses in the hopes of staving off the creatures about to pounce. What creates the atmosphere and what makes you care about stopping the attack are the noises you hear in the background, and that are coming from the station. You hear alarm bells, dogs barking, children crying and people screaming. Well, maybe we could have held the defenses if it wasn't for us being knocked out twice by some sort of wave. After taking on a mission from the dying captain, we enter the now devastated station, home only to the monsters.
Uncle, come on, get up! We'll get eaten! Please, wake up! Why are you sleeping? Let's go to Mom! You told me you'd take me to... Go away! Leave me alone! Mom told me not to talk to strangers.
Or maybe not. We help Sasha get home, and it seems that once again our journey takes us up to the surface. But first, let's see if we can buy some weapons and attachments. Speaking of weapons, let's talk about the guns in Metro. First thing to mention is that on the normal and hardcore difficulties you have 3 weapon slots, while on Ranger and Ranger hardcore difficulties you only have 2 weapon slots. In Metro there's quite an assortment of weapons to choose from. There is a submachine gun, a revolver, a couple of assault rifles, shotguns, and then we have the pneumatic weapons. Most of them are really good. The submachine gun with which you are first equipped is probably one of the weakest weapons, but the rest will get the job done rather well. That being said, after playing through this game a bunch of times, it's clear to me that you should always have a shotgun. While against human enemies you can use any weapon you want, even the bastard gun, against mutants the shotgun seems to be the absolute best weapon. If you want a silent but deadly type of playthrough, I recommend using one of the pneumatic weapons fitted with a scope, because yes indeed, weapons have different attachments. The attachments are quite interesting as they allow you to customize your weapons more according to your playstyle. Want to kill everything quietly? Just add a silencer. Don't want to waste time aiming? Buy a laser sight. Are you more interested in sniping your enemies? Add a scope. Want to increase the range of your shotgun or revolver? Add a long barrel. The cool thing is that most of these are pretty good choices. While the scopes are cool and quite useful against human enemies, they kind of become a liability against mutants as they move pretty damn fast, and since you usually have to fight mutants in tight spaces, a scope might not be the greatest of choices. If you can't afford any attachments or want to play around with them, don't worry, you can always find weapons that have various attachments, and in some instances they can be even better than your gear. In that case, you can just exchange the weapon you're carrying with the new one. Furthermore, human enemies always drop their weapons, so there is a chance of finding something better after combat or stealth. One interesting attachment that you don't see very often and that I think you can't buy is the quad-barreled shotgun. I have to admit that I like this weapon, and due to the insanely high damage, it's even better than the second type of shotgun that you can find, the one that has 6 shells and that has an increased fire rate. The last thing we can use to take out our enemies are 4 throwable items, some knives that can silently kill enemies, grenades, sticky grenades, and of course, incendiary grenades. Do I have to explain why grenades are good? Something else I really like when it comes to the weapons is that the shots you land pack a punch, especially with the shotguns. Combat looks and feels good. It feels like your shots have weight and that there's impact when someone or something is hit. Another thing that contributes to the nice flow of combat when it comes to the mutants is their movement. The Nosalises, for example, try to dodge your shots. They jump around, they roll, and they climb things. They're fun, creepy, and occasionally annoying enemies to fight. I talked a little bit about the level where we have to defend the station. Well, I kind of have to admit that I hate the part where we actually go in the station due to the primary enemy we have to fight there, the Lurker. It's a relatively small, fast creature that comes out of holes, runs at you, hits you for an impressive amount of damage, and then immediately runs back to a hole if you didn't kill it, that is. They are incredibly annoying. Does every game need this type of enemy? Well, looking at a few games, I think the answer is yes. There is something else I have to mention about the mutants, especially the Nosalises. They can kill you very quickly because they like to throw a couple of hits in a quick succession. And if there are 2 Nosalises near, you can die before you can pop a medkit, especially since medkits don't instantly heal you and need a little bit of time to get you back to full HP. When it comes to the fights with human enemies, the action also flows extremely well as the weapons are all good, and because while you can move around a lot, you also have to use cover, especially on harder difficulties. Human opponents love to fire everything they've got, which means that you really should wait for the enemies to stop shooting before you pop out of cover. Or you can risk it and possibly face the consequences of standing in front of a bunch of armed opponents. Furthermore, different human enemies have different amounts of armor, which can actually protect them pretty damn well. The 4th Reich soldiers in particular seem to have quite a lot of armor, which makes them stand out even more than their already very militaristic look does. I would also like to add that whenever I play this game and want to go full assault, no stealthing around, I always actually end up taking out quite a couple of enemies via stealth before the shooting starts. Even though I have good weapons, I have throwable items, I know the locations of most enemies, there are always a few guys that can be easily picked off before opening fire. The combat is fun, but there are some fights where you can kind of take advantage of the AI by jumping on things. For example, in the prologue, there's one place where if you stand, the watchmen take a long time before they decide to attack you. In the mission where you and Bourbon have to cross the bridge, if you stand close to the top of the metallic stairs or on the railing in front of Market Station, the Nosalises have issues attacking you. They can still hit, but they usually waste a lot of time just growling at you. And if neither you nor the immortal NPC next to you don't kill them, then they might eventually decide to attack. You can also use the AI to your advantage when fighting human enemies. You see, as long as no one fires a weapon that doesn't have a silencer, people at the end of the tunnel won't know that they're under attack. This means that sometimes you can just run to your targets and knock them out, which can be quite amusing to see. And then there's this bug that I sometimes get and that is quite hilarious. At the communist front lines on the train transporting the soldiers, there's also a political commissar holding a speech. Well, one time I said, I could possibly throw a sticky grenade on him, which will certainly take out a lot of red soldiers because they're all grouped up, and because it's funny. So I throw the grenade and... Did you see that? He just disappeared. This gets me every single time. And no, it doesn't happen every single time. It also happens on all difficulties. Speaking of which, I have to mention that while I do like the playstyle choices you are presented with at the start, the difficulties are a bit weird. Normal is the baseline difficulty. It's nice, it's fun, it's not very challenging. Then we have Hardcore. Enemy damage is slightly increased. The amount of ammo and air filters is slightly reduced. The HUD is mostly disabled, and just like with normal, you have free weapon slots. And in case you're wondering, yes, that means that you can have 2 or 3 weapons of the same type. I would not recommend doing that even on normal and hardcore, as you will unavoidably run out of ammo. This difficulty actually feels a lot better than normal. It's fun, but a bit of a challenge. Then we get to Ranger. Everyone, you included, deals more damage. Resources are even scarcer. The HUD is mostly disabled, hints are limited, and you lose 1 weapon slot, so you can only carry 2 weapons. To me, this is the best difficulty, as it seems to strike a perfect balance between fun and challenge. Finally, we have Ranger Hardcore. Enemies do even more damage. The HUD is completely disabled, no hints of any kind, ammo and air filters are even scarcer, and you can only carry 2 weapons. On Ranger Hardcore, one thing that becomes apparent is the fact that you shouldn't get attached to your weapons. Oftentimes what happens is that you start the level with 2 weapons. Combat happens, and you will most likely run out of ammo for 1 weapon. Even if you know the location of all or most ammo caches, it's possible to not find the type of ammo you're looking for. From what I've seen, however, the game always has a new weapon that can be found in a convenient place, even on maps that don't have human enemies. So when you're out of ammo on this difficulty, you should pick up whatever weapon you get, regardless of the attachments on it, or if you like the weapon type or not. That being said, Ranger Hardcore does something that I honestly find extremely questionable, namely the completely disabled HUD. Why? Well, because when you're out in the field, there is no way of checking how much ammo you have left, how many medkits you have, or which throwable item you are selecting. What the hell? In order to select what throwable item you want, you have to open your inventory that also has a weapon wheel, or a throwable wheel, I guess. On normal and Ranger, this weapon wheel slows down time, and then you can select what throwable item you want depending on the situation. On Ranger Hardcore, there's nothing there. Forget about checking ammo, money, air filters, forget about that. You can't see the weapon wheel. The only way to tell what you've selected is an audio cue, or by using whatever you think you've selected and then trying the next. This is insane. Why? Why would you not tell the player such basic and important things? Because it's hardcore! We're real gamers here! That's the only reason I could think of as why you would completely disable this interface. Ranger difficulty also does something stupid because it removes the ammo count, but at least I can see the weapon wheel, so I guess that's nice. Either way, these are some incredibly bizarre choices. Back to the surface in order to reach the entrance to the Black Station where Ullman is waiting for us. However, in order to do that, we have to go through a National Socialist surface base. After subtly taking out the Nazis, we reach this fortress, and I really like this place because there are quite a few ways you can handle it, as there are multiple ways to enter the building. The best one being going on the roof, from where you can transmit the message of the dying captain, and then you're going to have to... shoot, go away. Nice, we have a key. The safe that's opened by this key is found on the ground floor, alongside a bunch of bad guys. Oh crap, that demon brought a friend. And Nazis, run. Run, Artyom, run. Whew, safe.
Who is it?
Ah, crap.
Surrender and you won't get hurt. I swear.
This is the Black Station, and yeah, it's under the control of the National Socialists. You know the drill by now, silently take out enemies or go all in. However, what I like about this place is that there are actually quite a couple of interesting stories. Even among the people of the Fourth Reich, there are still those that think of home, their loved ones, of what the future holds, and hope for a better future for them and their families. But of course, there are those that only care about the greater concepts and nothing else. The last interesting story you can hear is that of a new religion that appeared in the metro, that of the Invisible Watchers. This is actually a pretty long story, so go check out my long play on my second channel if you want to hear it. After meeting up with Ullman, we finally make it to Polis, where we buy some better weapons, find Miller, and transmit the message that Hunter wanted us to deliver. After listening to Artyom's report, due to the gravity of the situation at Exhibition, Miller immediately calls a council meeting where we have to retell our story. Artyom's message falls on deaf ears and the exhibition will not receive any help from Polis. The Rangers, however, understand the gravity of the threat and want to help. In order to defeat the Dark Ones, the Rangers want to launch missiles on their nests. The problem is that missiles can only be launched from a secret military bunker called D6. If there's any place that might have any information on where D6 can be located, it's the Russian State Library. So, to Moscow we go. At the start of the video, I mentioned that Metro is a linear game, and for the most part it really is. However, you do get the occasional side path where you can do a little bit of exploring, where you can discover documents that are an insight into Artyom's mind, or where you can find valuable resources. I like open world games as much as the next guy, but I think that when it comes to stories, you can craft some really great experiences in a much more linear game. Open world games can give the sense that you can choose your own path or destination and can feel like a different game choosing to go north instead of south, for example. Well, that was quick. While a game like Metro can guide you along and involve you in the story to a much greater degree. That being said, this is not an absolute. There certainly are cases where an open world game can also have a fantastic and engaging story. As far as the level design is concerned, most maps are more or less just a long corridor. However, first of all the maps that have humans give you multiple ways to navigate them, so it never gets boring. Then you have the conversations between the characters that can be found in these places. There is always something happening somewhere, even though you're basically walking in a straight line. Finally, not only do we have side rooms, but we also have elevation. Most, if not all, levels have floors above the ground floor, and sometimes they have paths underneath or above. So again, even if you are walking in a straight line towards the level exit, because you sometimes go up a floor, then go down, then up again, then we go down 2 floors, you never get tired. The surface occasionally has some twists and turns, but nothing to write home about. However, the atmosphere on the surface is just so amazing, and since it seems like whenever you go forward a couple of meters something happens, a vision, a ghost, an attack, something, it's incredibly difficult not to feel engaged by the game. Now in Moscow, and just as we reach the library, a horde of watchmen starts running around. As you'd expect, some of the mutated beasts think they can make a quick meal out of us. However, after repeatedly teaching the mutants what a shotgun is, and them refusing to understand, Miller and another ranger appear to help us out. Oh, but don't think that you're safer inside the library than you are outside, as the State Library is now home to the most dangerous enemy, according to Miller. Since we're at the library, let's talk about a couple of really good levels, because this place is now home to the absolute best enemy in the game, according to me, the librarians. First of all, I like the fact that the game doesn't just throw one of these creatures at us and we have to fight it. Instead, it shows us short glimpses of them. So what's cool about these things? Well, apart from being the strongest enemy, their behavior is awesome. Initially, they will try to get close to you so that they can kind of inspect you. And if you don't move away, they start to become aggressive. If you stand still and don't back away, they start to display what I guess can be considered dominant behavior. They growl and they take a position that indicates they're ready to attack. The way you deal with these monsters is to keep looking at them, slowly back away, and never turn your back on them, because if you do, they will attack you. While these guys are pretty scary and they can end you after 1, maybe 2 hits if you're lucky, they are not invincible. All you need is a lot of shotgun ammo, kiting room, and incendiary grenades. Ooh, ammo! I would also like to mention that it is possible to stealth around them, or at least most of them. Before we find the room where the documents are being held, we first have to go through the monsters' nests, where we see a couple of them sleeping, and again, even though I could probably kill them, I prefer to slowly stealth around them, trying my best not to wake them up, because these guys kind of scare me. We manage to find what we're looking for and escape the building. Ah, safe at last. Or not.
Where you going, my man? I'll take you there for 50 bullets.
With the documents in hand, we go to the Ranger hideout, where we get some really nice world building. Hey, look, it's Khan. I wonder what he has to say about all of this.
Hello there, Artyom. I told you we'd meet again. It's a nice base the Rangers got themselves. I heard you received no help from Polis. What's your next move? Keeping silent, you're turning into a Ranger. Take a close look at the road you follow, Artyom, and be aware of how it might end. You reap what you sow, Artyom. Force answers force. War breeds war, and death only brings death. To break this vicious circle, one must do more than just act without any thought or doubt. Well, Artyom, I've been chatting here for far too long. It's time to go.
After listening to Khan's speech, did you see that the screen got a small flash of white and there was an audio cue? Well, that's because this game has a morality system. The thing is, nothing about this system is really explained. You kind of have to guess if you're overall good or bad. I mean, you don't always need a slider that shows your alignment, but a little bit of clarity wouldn't have hurt. I'm pretty sure, however, that stealth killing humans is a certain way to rack up bad points. If you want to get good points, you can just knock out enemies. Along the entirety of the game, there are multiple choices that award points. For example, at Exhibition, giving the man on the bench a couple of bullets so he can help his son is a good decision. Finding bourbon without the kid, bad. The first time you climb to the surface, there's a watchman mother defending its pups. You get bad points if you kill it. Saving the man that was about to be executed in the red lines is good. On the ghosts level, shooting the female ghost, bad. Shooting the ghost train, also bad. And finding the skeletal remains at the end of the tunnel, good. What do these morality points do? Well, nothing major. They can change how the game ends. On our way to D6, we have to fight scores of mutants. We are threatened by an anomaly, only to be attacked by even more mutants.
Forward! For the motherland! For dying of old age!
Oh, shut up. We're gonna make it.
Which results in us losing a couple of our ranger friends. Even worse, we get separated from our little group, and this is where we're introduced to another interesting and cool enemy, the spider. Their shell protects them from bullets, but they do have a weakness: light. If you hold your flashlight on them, they go belly up, leaving them vulnerable to attack. Or you can just set them on fire with the flamethrower, your choice. After finding our group, we catch the train to D6, but who could have imagined that this abandoned place doesn't have enough power to get us to the control center. After starting up the generators and reaching the control center, from where we can launch the missiles, the power goes out. Now we have to start a reactor manually. On our way to the reactor, we encounter another threat.
Okay, this is the lift. I hope it still works.
People of Metro, we have awaited your arrival. We are those who are called the Invisible Watchers. Your time has come, and now you will feel our wrath.
Ullman, stop screwing around. Colonel, I have activated the loudspeaker. I have the signal from the lift switchboard on my console. I'll switch it on. That's right.
Ullman's bad jokes. Close to the reactor, we see a creature that I think you can find in Dead Space as well.
Artyom, I won't lie to you. I'm afraid now.
Anyway, we managed to power up the facility, but it seems that the weather in a post-apocalyptic world is not that nice, which means we can't shoot the missiles because it's too cloudy and the targeting system can't see what it's shooting. For one last time, we have to go to the surface and place a guidance system on top of Ostenkino Tower. Since this is the last mission of the game, I'd like to talk for a bit about the villains, the Dark Ones. At the start of the game, one of the first things we discover is that a patrol from our station was attacked by the Dark Ones, and then we see the survivors of this attack, wallowing in pain and clearly suffering psychological trauma. That is, the ones that are alive, as some have passed away. As Hunter and Alex start talking about the situation, we are attacked by the Nasalises, and Alex comments that even when you don't see them, the Dark Ones are there. The level is then completed with a cutscene where we see the aftermath of an attack on the outer guard post. I'm mentioning all of this to make it clear that the Dark Ones are very well established as the antagonists of our story. Even the prologue shows how far Artyom is willing to go in order to protect his home from these beings, braving the poisonous, mutant-filled, demon-infested surface to do so. However, I would also like to point out that we never see the Dark Ones attack until we get a vision of Hunter's death. Throughout the game, the Dark Ones keep showing up and in some cases helping Artyom, even saving his and Bourbon's life, while in other cases they just seem to observe him and try to communicate some vague ideas or to show our protagonist different visions.
He can stop death.
As you can imagine, Artyom is not quite proficient at interspecies telepathic communication, which makes him unsure of what is happening. This eventually leads to the Dark Ones trying to kill him at the end of the game. In the final scenes of the game, we're given a choice and the fate of the Dark Ones is in our hands, if we have enough good points. We've pretty much covered the entire story of the game, so then what do I mean by narrative? Well, in this case I'm using it to mean the overall story, from start to finish, what's good about it and what's bad about it. I'm not going to waste any time and I will say that the overall story is phenomenal. It's a gripping exploration of a nuclear post-apocalyptic world with everything that entails. We see and hear the ghosts of the past, the new threats, people just trying to live as best they can, trying to rebuild through scavenging, through old world knowledge, or through force. But we can also see how people are stuck in the past, still fighting over old ideologies. On our journey, we meet a wide cast of interesting characters, from the shady but highly likable Bourbon, to the absolutely esoteric or maybe insane Khan, to the funny Ullman and the stoic Miller. Even some characters that don't get a whole lot of screen time are interesting, such as Vladimir, Andrew the blacksmith, or the dying captain, still concerned about the threat the mutants can pose to Polis, and of course, the commissar at the Red Line.
Plotting terrorist acts. There's a saboteur lurking in every alley, I tell you.
No reason for panic. We've sealed our border with the Nazis and covered every possible entry point with roadblocks. A mouse couldn't get through.
What about the surface, huh? What about the surface? Those devils could be sneaking down to attack us from above. And all the while, their spies soften us up for their invasion.
Very well. All new arrivals will be sent to the cages till they're cleared. That way, your own people can sort out the suspects.
Then we get the surreal encounters with the Dark Ones that make us doubt our mission and conjure a multitude of questions about what is truly happening. At every turn, the story keeps me engaged, and even though I've played this game quite a couple of times, I still like to listen to the characters. I still enjoy every step along the way to the game's conclusion. When it comes to the aesthetics, Metro goes for realism and the graphics work incredibly well in favor of the game's themes and subject matter. At the end of the day, Metro 2033 Redux is a remaster, and I would like to say it's a good one. Though after a couple of playthroughs, you will certainly notice a lot of similar looking NPCs. With the final part of this chapter, Immersion, again I'll be straightforward and say this is one of the most immersive games I've played. I love it. The game's atmosphere, sound design, visuals and narrative all make you feel like you're exploring and witnessing a strange new world. We've explored every tunnel, we've bypassed every ghost, we've seen all there is to see on the surface. Now, let's see what's good and bad about this game, according to my taste. We'll start off with the good. Story, great. Atmosphere, phenomenal. Sound design, amazing. Immersion, superb. Characters, interesting. Weapons, good. Stealth, good. Enemies, great. AI, good. Action, great. Now for the bad. There are occasional glitches, both with the enemies and the graphics. The graphics ones are a bit annoying, but overall they're a small issue. I did encounter some technical problems though, namely I got quite a couple of crashes. That is, until I turned off advanced physics. So, is this game still worth playing? Yes, absolutely 100%. Metro 2033 Redux is still worth playing. For my taste, Metro is one of the best nuclear post-apocalyptic games out there. It's just perfect. I love the atmosphere, the action, and despite the fact that I'm not crazy about stealth games, always preferring to go in guns blazing, I can't deny that the stealth in Metro 2033 is well thought out, giving the player a lot of choices. Have you played Metro 2033 or Metro 2033 Redux? What do you think of either version of the game? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, I hope to see you next time. Have an awesome day.